Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be joining us from, and welcome to another Talknologies powered by AI Nanotech. Today, it's my great pleasure to welcome Katerina Viewpoints as our guest speaker. And Katerina, I'm just going to start with a brief introduction. Katerina is currently a VP Operations at SmartX and has previously founded a Techstars startup with the help of giant contract manufacturer Flextronics in southern China. She's passionate about hardware development and manages all manufacturing and field operation efforts inside SmartX. My first question, Katerina, is how did you start founding and entrepreneuring?
That's a great question. Actually, I just stumbled upon it. And before everything, let me just tell you, thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure to help out in this new endeavor of yours, and yeah, I'm glad to be here to hopefully help out someone who is just starting, and yeah, I'm sure that some people who are going to be listening to this will have a similar story. Basically, I stumbled upon it. I did not have any idea of what a startup was before starting one myself. It sounds scary, but actually, I think now after I founded my first startup, it's actually scarier to even think about starting a second one, right? It's pure bliss, pure ignorance bliss, starting something as hard as a startup without knowing all the gory details of such an endeavor. So yeah, I stumbled upon it. I wanted a job designing white goods, and I didn't have any professional experience, so no one would give me a job. And I think a lot of people listening will have a very similar experience, because nowadays it's such wide an opportunity that everyone considers is starting your own thing if you cannot be hired to do the job that we want to do, right? So it's definitely a faster way to get to where you want if you do it right. It's many times faster than just climbing the corporate ladder. And yeah, that's exactly my my experience. It's just it was a fast way to get to what I wanted. I ended up following the White Rabbit. I followed the roadmap that that many startup incubators teach you how to do it. Even now, you have online resources from companies such as Y Combinator, Techstars. They tell you how to do it, so it's easy enough to just follow the roadmap and get to a point where you feel like you have found some kind of success and actually made it to a point where you have accomplished something that you always wanted to accomplish. So that was definitely my case. I wanted to build a white goods. As weird as it may sound, that was my dream, and I ended up building a successful product with a successful contract manufacturer, which we partnered with called Flextronics. And yeah, so eventually I had all of the experience building product in China, the experience selling product in US, and I guess now I would be an employable professional comparing to when I just started. But yeah, I just stumbled upon it. I had no idea what a startup was. I had to learn about it along the way, and it just was a means to get what I wanted professionally.
I'm so happy we're having this conversation because you've basically touched on all the reasons why this program, why AI Nanotech, is really looking to attract individuals who are disruptive in nature, who have a different way of perceiving potential solutions. And you touched on something which I think is, I remember I actually invited you for a 10-minute coffee, and we actually ended up speaking for about an hour, which has to do with what you with what you started out with. And it has to do with us not knowing how to actually fail throughout the process of becoming successful entrepreneurs. We spoke about how many resources are out there, what the Silicon Valley model is, and how everyone just seems to invite us to be an entrepreneur and to go about doing everything, which is why we also invited you to be one of our mentors, is you actually fail along the way. And when you fail, are you failing or are you actually acquiring very valuable knowledge for the successful endeavor that you're looking to pursue?
Well, I think there's a reason why founders who are starting their second, third, fourth startup choose to found startups with co-founders that are not first-time founders. And that's because all of that experience is so valuable, and there is no way to get it if you're not starting something new, right? So yeah, the more you do it, the more experience you get, but obviously your first time is going to be the time that you failed the most. But I really feel that it is super important for you to be comfortable with failing. Okay. I have to say myself that I am very comfortable with failing. It's part of the way I operate. On a daily basis. I just try to fail as soon as possible and to get it right immediately afterwards. But I think it's an important part of starting a startup, for sure.
There are people who say that problems are actually solutions we haven't yet discovered. And all this international experience that you've already had, do you think there's a difference between being an entrepreneur in Portugal, in China, or in the US, for example?
Well, I do have experience being an entrepreneur in different regions, but also in different stages of being a founder and different stages of my startup. So I pretty much started in the UK. I was going through a startup accelerator everyone should know about. It's called Techstars. We were doing the IoT program in Cambridge, and you could feel that the involvement of the university was huge. So in some ways, it was very academic. You have people coming from abroad and you had people coming from London, but you definitely could feel the ambiance of the University of Cambridge. Immediately afterwards, we were invited to the first class of Highway 1 in San Francisco, which was hardware based. And then it's San Francisco, right? You're in the Bay, and you feel the hustle. You feel the energy that everyone talks about. So it's very different comparing to Cambridge, where I started. Then I moved to China, and when you get to Shenzhen, you will find all the hardware nerds building electronics, and yeah, it's a completely different hustle, and the energy is great. It's mostly a bunch of nerds coming from all over the world, and it's great to start things if you're building a hardware product. And finally, we decided to grow the team and company in Portugal, in Lisbon. So it was definitely the strangest experience because we were not very deep in the ecosystem. So we felt the most alone when we moved to Lisbon. Okay. We weren't just in Lisbon. Obviously, we had one foot in San Francisco and another in China because we were building product in China, but definitely the ecosystem was the most underdeveloped. So yeah, I guess nowadays you build startups everywhere in the world, but it's going to be different in every single place.
Do you think it's important for an entrepreneur, a researcher who's looking to transfer their technology into a company, into society? Do you think that these programs that are currently out there to support entrepreneurs are important?
I think it is important. It is very important. Uh, and the first reason I would say is because of validation. Okay, when you have experienced people going through your business model, your idea, looking at you as a founder and trying to put it together with what you want to build, and deciding if the initial conditions are there for you to begin, I think that should serve as a little bit of validation. Obviously, I'm not saying that if you don't get accepted to a program, you should not be building it. There's other factors that have to do with the accelerator itself, the incubator. But for me as a young entrepreneur, the validation of being accepted to that first Techstars program was huge. Okay, and obviously then all the mentoring sessions, talking to people is one of the most important things that you want to do when you're starting something. Especially talking to people who have done it before, who have failed, who have succeeded. It's going to be super important. So I am super in favor of incubators. Then I've been through a few, so there's always some that are better than others. That's obviously, but again, it's all about the people that you have there ready to help you.
One of the things that has come up in different contexts is the challenge it is to actually attract female entrepreneurs in techno settings. How do you move from dreaming about being a princess to dreaming about developing hardware? And how challenging was that for you?
Well, you shouldn't ask me because I was riding bicycles. I had multiple bicycles, and I was making mud pies as a kid, and yeah, and falling a lot and breaking bones. So that's really not a question for me, but it's fun to see that. For instance, I have one sister, and I have two female cousins, and everyone is in engineering, and I'm also in engineering, and I think things are just changing naturally. It's I think girls growing up are starting to feel like they have a place in engineering, and it just takes time for the world to adapt, right? It wasn't like this just a few generations ago, and I think we're actually moving really fast towards making women and girls feel like they belong.
Okay, Katerina, so I remember at the Web Summit that we actually, one of the issues that was discussed is the importance of integrating different viewpoints, different gender orientations, just taking on different approaches to how technology develops. Do you think that as a female entrepreneur who's had experience in different geographies, do you feel that this is the next step that we need to see in startups?
People have asked me this question before, and I cannot say that I have been an entrepreneur who had felt that gender issues were a major part of my experience. Okay, maybe because these issues were already being talked about and everybody was already starting to consider how they treated women comparing to men and gender norms and this and that. But again, it could also have to do with my upbringing and also as growing up as a, a girl in Portugal, which is either you want it or not, is much more advanced in such terms comparing to other countries. So I've been for instance to China, okay, where women maybe feel like they still have roles and they but it's always going to depend, right? In major cities, for instance, I was in Shenzhen and I made some girlfriends and they were definitely like young professionals of great success, right? But then if you move out of the big cities, maybe things are different. And I think that for sure we should building products as well to accommodate people that are not always living in the cities, right? We should be building product for people who live all over the world in different regions. Otherwise, we're going to have a similar problem, which is entrepreneurs building products for their own, and that doesn't make any sense, right? So, and if we're talking about diversity, I think that regional diversity in that sense, it's much more important. And yeah, just build products for people all over the world, and yeah, take those things into consideration for sure. But I cannot say that as in my experience as an entrepreneur that I have felt like being a woman has brought me down in any way. Actually, I felt very empowered, but again, that could have to do with my upbringing, and people have different experiences, and I know, and I have learned about it and read about it and even talked to some people who have felt different, but I cannot say that has been my experience.
That's wonderful to know, and I'm sure that everyone who will be interacting with you as one of our mentors is certainly going to benefit from all that experience. In order to wrap up this conversation, which I know could go on for quite a long time, and I promise not to keep you in another hour, what 3 tips, Katerina, would you give to the participants in this program or to anyone who's actually looking to, bring their idea or technology into an ecosystem where it might actually thrive? What would you tell them?
Actually, I think I know exactly what I would tell them. If you're a first-time entrepreneur, definitely be a good student, okay? Make sure that you learn the ways of starting a company which has the structure of a startup, okay? It will immediately help you stand up from the crowd if you try to learn what you're doing, if you're trying to learn the ways, and it's going to help you along the way, because there's many issues already that you're going to be it's going to be so specific to your company that it's gonna be super hard to find a solution. So it's better if you just know if you know the basics of starting a startup. So that would be tip number 1 for sure. Then don't believe the hype. I would say that's the tip number 2. Okay, it is very hard. Okay, and most of us will fail. And most of us fail over and over before they get to any kind of success. So yeah, take it easy, take care of your body, take care of your mind, make sure that you have healthy routines to make up for all of those nights that you're gonna be spending without sleeping. So yeah, just make sure that you are aware it's gonna be hard work. And I would say that the last one is uh, do it before, because you must. Okay. Do it because there's no other way you could be doing. Do it because it's really something you need to get out of your chest. You need to build, you need to show the world. And I think that's important, because that's going to make you feel like, I know it's a cliche, but I have spent most of my professional days working like this, which is working like you aren't actually working, right? It's they usually say not working a day in your life, right? And I really believe in that. I believe that your best work is going to happen when you feel like you must be doing it, and there's no one else who could be doing it. And yeah, if you're going to start something like this, you really must feel that way, because it's going to be hard, and you want to make sure that you are motivated, and yeah, just enjoy it.
You've definitely powered us up, Katerina. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you want to check out any other of our other Talknology sessions, just click on ainanotech.eu and find out all about us. Thank you so much, Katerina, again, and have a lovely week.
Thank you.